Hello
Hello
everyone.
everyone.
I can
I
see
can
the
see the
stream is
stream is
working
working
fine,
fine,
but
but
I still need
I
to
still need
verify
to verify
whether my
whether my
audio
audio
is
is
working
working
okay or
okay
not.
or not.
So I'm
So
just
I'm
waiting
just
for
waiting
it
for it
to
to
display on
display
my
on my
device.
device.
So
So
yeah, I'm
yeah,
just
I'm
waiting
just
for that.
waiting for that.
But if you
But
are
if you
already
have
joined
already
the
joined the
stream
stream
and if you
and
can
if you
hear
can
me,
hear me,
okay, please
okay,
let me know
please
in the
let me know
chat.
in the chat.
Yeah, I could
Yeah, I
hear
could
there is
hear
an
there is
echo.
an echo.
I
I
think there are
think
two
there are two
devices
devices
which
which
are
are
receiving the
receiving
audio.
the
So
audio. So
let me
let me
disable the.
disable the.
I made few changes. Not sure if this resolved the issue. Yeah, I think I can monitor now and it seems to be working fine. Great. Right. So thanks for joining. So we are back with yet another live Q&A. So the format of these season 2 live Q&A is slightly different. So what I do is I usually take one question which can probably set the theme of the session. So what I will do is I will try to answer that question, and today's question is can I learn data science on my own using free resources or even paid resources, depending on if you're willing to make any investment. So I'll first answer that question, and then if there are any questions in the chat, I will start taking them one by one. So can I learn data science on my own? So the simple answer is yes. The only difficulty that you can face is structuring the course and structuring your curriculum, because if you are learning from open source material or even from a course, the course may not include everything, and if you're learning from open source, you need to structure your course yourself. So that can be a little bit tricky, but these days that shouldn't be that big of a challenge because there are tons and tons of courses available out there. So just to structure your own course and find materials online, you can use the course curriculum, and then you can structure your course and you should be able to cover everything. As for what all platforms you can use if you want to just learn for free, so there are a lot of courses available on Coursera, on edX, on Udacity, and also Harvard CS 109, if I remember correctly. That course is also available for free. You can learn quite a lot of things from there, and there are so many things available on YouTube as well. So I think those are the resources which you can make use of. And if you want to download my data science notes, that is available in the description, and you can make use of that as well. So yeah, that was about the material. But now, how will you be able to gain some experience, and how to decide which projects to work on? So whenever you think about a project that you want to work on, think about its practical implications, and if it is solving some real world problem, I think that's a really good project to work on. And you can also decide on which domain you want to work in. So if you like finance, if you like healthcare, you can choose and pick projects based on that domain. That way you will be able to gain some experience in that domain as well. Also try to participate in Kaggle competitions, hackathons and challenges. That way you'll be able to meet with a lot of other people, and also you'll be able to showcase your work, and you'll be able to build some connections there. So I think those are the things that you can do. That way you will be able to learn data science on your own, as well as build some experience. So that was the answer to that question. Now I will take a look in the chat and see if there are any questions. And I see we have a couple of people here. No questions as such, but hi Ashutosh, it's been a while. How you doing? I could see a few more people are joining, so let's give them a couple of minutes and see if we get any questions. By the way, it's a really nice sunny day here. It is still cold, but at least it's sunny. So I'm thinking to go out for grocery shopping after this live Q&A, and I'm still editing one of the videos. It should be out hopefully tomorrow or day after tomorrow. So yeah, I have changed my video editing tool, so now it is taking a little bit more time to edit a video because I'm still getting used to, but hopefully I should be able to get on with this new editing tool soon enough. Yeah, I'm also doing good, Ashutosh. Thanks. So final learning by now, what should we take our final year project? So it totally depends on your interest and which area or which domain you like. So when I say domain, there can be two different type of domain. One is going to be the business domain, which is either finance, healthcare, supply chain, so on and so forth. And the other domain is natural language processing or machine learning sort of thing on a tabular data, or you want to go for a computer vision. So whichever you like, based on that you can choose and pick. I already have a video about some of the interesting um, projects available, so you should be able to get some idea which type of projects you can work on. And if you still think those are the projects which you're not interested in, then I think we can have a discussion and see what type of project you can work on. But in general, the project should not be very simple, and also it shouldn't be way too complex. there should be a right fit and a balance so that you are not working on something which will overwhelm you. You should also enjoy the project that you're working on, but then at the same time, there should be some learning out of it. Let me quickly try to find that video and I will post that in the chat. Could you discuss your experience so far in the UK? I'm sure I will. Disable slow mode as they're not. I don't think I have turned on the slow mode. As far as I remember, I always turn it off. Don't know if I forgot today, but let me quickly take a look if I can disable it now if it has been enabled. Yeah, so slow mode is not enabled. There might be some lag, I don't know if there are any, but it could be because of that, but I don't see slow mode enabled. Right, so my experience so far in the UK, I would say so far it's been good. I'm just trying to formulate my thought. How should I proceed with it? I can maybe just talk about right from my education. You might already know Ashutosh because you have joined some of the live Q&As in the past and I did talk about this, but if there are any new audience, let's just talk about that. So as for education, it's very different when compared to India. In India, it's very theoretical, but here it was very practical. So for me, it was a plus point. I really liked it and I really enjoyed that kind of curriculum. I really liked working on those kind of projects. And then after that, finding a job was slightly challenging. It took a few months to find the right job. But obviously the job market was not that great, and even today job market is not doing very good. And I was just yesterday looking at the ONS vacancy number of vacancies in the UK, and it is still falling, and probably next month, if it still falls by like 1,000 jobs or something, it will be below the number of jobs that were posted pre-pandemic. So I think the job market is still not looking that good. But at that time, there were quite a lot of things. There was still some effect of COVID, and then Russia-Ukraine war also started at that time. So there were a lot of negative sentiment in the market. So it was a little challenging, but I kept my head down. I kept working on some of the things, and I was able to find a job. I did find one job at a startup, but within like few months, I was laid off because they did not get the project. And then after that, I joined my current company where I'm still working. I'm about to reach 2 years in my current position. So far, I think I'm really enjoying working here. There are a lot of interesting challenges and projects that I'm currently working on. So it's never same and monotonous work that I'm working day in day out. Every day there's some new challenge, so that is good, and it keeps me motivated to learn a lot of different things. And yeah, so far really good. I'm really enjoying here. And in terms of living standards, I think it's good. And what else? Weather. It rains a lot, that is probably not good, but it stays relatively colder as compared to India, which I prefer. I prefer colder temperature as compared to the hotter ones. So yeah, even in summers it does not go beyond 30. So that's a plus point for me. So yeah, overall very positive. Do you think traditional ML data scientist will be taken over by the new Gen AI LLM data scientists? Very good question. And the answer is yes and no. Yes, because there are quite a lot of things like text classification. I think large language models do much better as compared to traditional machine learning model. But obviously, if you can fine tune your model, invest some time, you will be able to get similar kind of performance. But right out of the box, with just simple prompting, you will be able to get very good results from large language models. But it can also be slightly expensive. So if you are ready to invest in large language model and you are ready to use it for text classification, yeah, you're good to go, and it will give you better results. But you can also implement those kind of things using traditional machine learning model. It will take a lot more time, but then you will save some money there. So considering that, I think there's, in terms of performance, there's an edge over machine learning model in favor of Gen AI. But when it comes to tabular data, I think still machine learning is much better and much powerful when compared to Gen AI. These days there are some hacks, like you can ask in natural language and then it converts that natural language into either Python code or SQL code, and then it runs that code in the data at the backend, and then it will fetch the data, it will do those calculations, and it will try to convert it into a natural language and provide you the output in natural language. So it's a hack. It's not like Gen AI can understand the tabular data. It's simply because it hasn't been trained on tabular data. If they decide to train it on tabular data, hopefully it will be able to understand in the future. But as of now, I think traditional machine learning or even deep learning is going to be preferred over Gen AI when it comes to tabular data. So they both have their own advantages and disadvantages, but I don't see anytime soon that large language model data scientist will take over traditional machine learning data scientist. And I would also like to mention, if someone is a large language model data scientist and they don't know anything about traditional machine learning model, it will be really hard for them to scale those applications. Because if you are someone who knows machine learning, traditional machine learning, and if you want to learn Gen AI stuff, you'll be able to learn it much better way, because you understand how traditional machine learning works, how traditional deep learning works, and then you are trying to learn how Gen AI works, which is not vastly different. The architecture is slightly different, but you will still be able to understand it quite well. So I think if someone who knows traditional machine learning and they try to learn Gen AI, will have much more edge over someone who just learned about large language model, and they call them LLM data scientists. So yeah, that's going to be my answer to that question. I hope it helps. Do you think job market is bad because companies are finding remote workers? Um, no, not necessarily, because if that was the case, then companies won't lay off and just close those positions. So it's not like they are laying off people and then hiring someone who is working remote so that they can hire them for cheaper prices. So no, that's not the case. It can be partly uh, the contributing factor, but I think in general there's just way too much negative sentiment in the market, and a lot of companies are not doing very well simply because there's so much inflation, and because of inflation people have less money to spend, and when people have less money to spend they're not going to go in a market and buy certain stuff, and if they're not going to buy, companies won't be able to make that much sales, and if companies are not going to make sales, obviously they're going to cut down on the number of people they employ. So and then if people lose their job they will again have less money to spend in the market. So you see there's a cycle here, and some of the external factors like there's still Russia-Ukraine war going on, and then now there is Israel-Palestine conflict. So it's just making things worse here. Can you throw some light on how is the actual work in the data science job role? Do you use what you studied in the uni? Yes. So it's a mix of both. So things I learned at uni mixed with some of the practical implications. So the data set that we get in university is a lot more cleaner, and you take the data and straight out of the box you can apply some of the statistical models and the statistical analysis, and it works well, and you can look at the statistical output, and you can say that yeah, I'm quite confident this looks right. But when it comes to your work setup, usually the data is very messy, and sometimes when you apply those statistical model and you get the result, you're not sure whether it's correct or not. So in work setup, it's very important to have someone with domain expertise so that you can go back to them and show them the results and ask, do you think it looks all right? You can show your confidence level and stuff, and you can say that I'm this much confident that this result is correct, but from your domain expertise, can you please tell me whether it's correct or not? So yes, you do apply all those kind of concepts that you learn, but again, you mix it with some other skills, and you work in collaboration rather than working all by yourself. There is echo again. Very interesting. When did it start? I did not make any change. I don't know why there is echo. Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, seems to be working fine now. I don't know why. All of a sudden it just reverted back to. No, it did not. So the settings were still same, but because of some reason I was still getting the echo. But anyways, I think it is working okay now. I will keep the monitoring on and see. Right, where were we? Can you throw some light on? Yep, that's done. There is echo. Yep, that's done. Thank you. Could you tell what is the data science salary for 2 year experience? Um, so just a second. I'm hearing my own voice, but don't know from where. Well, if you hear any echo again, please let me know. I will see if it um, is the audio which I am hearing from some device. I don't know which one, but it could be that. I'm sorry for that. It's just a whole new setup, and I'm still not used to this setup. Last time there was no problem, but now there's problem again. Yeah, coming back to your point, Ashutosh. So, what would be the salary for someone with 2 years of experience? So there are different things here. So, if you have more experience, like I have over 5 years of experience, and everything is in data domain. But yes, I have around 2 years of experience in data science role. So for that, the salary can be slightly high because most of the experience is relevant. But for someone who has same amount of experience that I have, but then the prior experience is not in data industry, so for them the salary can be little less. And then there is another person who has similar kind of experience or similar number of years of experience as mine, but then everything is in data science domain, then their salary can be slightly higher than mine. So though considering all those factors, looking at some of the people studied with me and currently they are working, the average salary for them comes to around 37 to 38, even 39,000 pounds per year. So that's the kind of average salary that we are looking at. But for someone who has like 5 years of data science experience, they can have over 55 to 60,000 pounds, something like that. But then also you need to keep in mind that the salary varies quite a lot depending on your location. So if you are living in a, or if you're working in a bigger cities like London and Manchester, your salary will be higher. But then if you are living and working in a smaller place, the salary can be slightly low. I'm just trying to look at the mic if I'm getting the audio from the mic, because it has a monitoring port. But I don't know how I can reduce the, volume. Also, once the modules are completed, what are the role of, sorry, once the models are completed, what are the roles of data scientist? I know that the models are monitored, etc., but that also can be automated. What their role then afterwards? So it's not like once you develop your model, that was the only task you had. There's always a new project. So if you're working in a, let's say, AI ML based consultancy, and your project is to develop a model, you trained a model, you deployed it, it's all done, it will be monitored, but then you will be moved to a next project, and then you will be working on a new type of model there. So that's going to be your new role. But then if you are working in a product based company, there's always model refinement, model optimization, and you will be making different versions of that model. So there are quite a lot of different tasks. So your job is never done once you have deployed your model. In my current role, we've trained multiple models in the past, but it's not just limited to training the models. It's also about creating dashboards, making changes to the dashboard depending on the business use case, incorporating new data sets. So evaluating how the data looks, do you need to incorporate that data in your workflow? So it's not just about training the model, it starts from data collection to data visualization, data cleaning. So there are quite a lot of things that are involved there. You got 5 years of experience, accounting and university experience. No, not counting the university experience, because if I count university, that would be 6 years. But no, I'm not counting. So I finished my bachelor's in 2018, and since then I've been working. So in 2024 it would be around 6 years, but then you remove your 1 year of master, so that would be 5 years. So that's how the experience is calculated. So I'm not considering my masters as experience, but I've seen quite a lot of people doing that and counting it as experience. Technically, I did work on uh, projects like internship. So I did internship for 6 months or something like that. So I could consider half a year maybe there. But anyways, I'm just keeping it simple here. Do you think having long work experience like 7-8 years but not relevant in data science field has a negative impact? No, it will not have a negative impact, because having a corporate experience is always good, and regardless of what you worked on, you gain some domain expertise there. And that's the good thing about data science, is that it's an interdisciplinary field where it's not just about technical stuff. So yeah, if you have some domain expertise, it will only help. As the real world data is messy, what techniques are used for processing data, like data cleaning, normalization, feature? Yeah, those are the things. Tools can be different depending on what business you use. In terms of technique, again, there is no thumb rule here, but it always starts with EDA. and I really like to use pandas profiling to start the analysis. And when I get that analysis and when I look at the data, I can see that how many zeros are there. Those are considered as zero inflated data. Whether those zeros are actual numbers or outliers, do I need to keep them, remove them? So those kind of things. And you can look at box plot, those kind of things. You can look at correlation charts and plots to see if there is any correlation. Those kind of things can come in your data cleaning, data normalization. Again, if different features are on different scale and if you want to normalize it, you can do that. Or if you want to just make them more interpretable, you can normalize them as well. Feature engineering, yes, sometimes there are quite a lot of features, like thousands of features, and you don't want to use thousands of features, so you can sometimes perform like PCA, or you can also do TF, IDF, those kind of things, to just reduce the dimensionality of the data. And yeah, so those are the basic stuff that you do on almost all kind of data, if not all. So yeah, those are the few techniques that you apply, but again, it depends quite a lot on what kind of data you are working on. So 3 years in India and 2 years in the UK. That's correct, Ashutosh. And whoever comes for masters here in the UK, I usually suggest having some experience definitely helps, because there were quite a lot of batchmates who didn't have any experience. They did struggle quite a lot to find a job, and some of them had to go back to India. But luckily, after going to India, they were able to find some job in data science there. So that's a good thing, but eventually they had to go back. Does experience count only if you have letters in UK? I don't think I understood your question, Ashutosh. Can you maybe reframe it? I have no background in mathematics. I am in the medical field. I want to be in the future work in data science. What do you recommend? Where do I start? So if you don't have a mathematical background, first thing what I would say is, if you don't have a mathematical background, don't think like you cannot be a data scientist, because yes, maths is a backbone of data science, and at some point you'll have to learn maths and stats, but it's not something which is way too complicated. Because what we remember from our uh, school days was that solving those complex mathematical equations, while at some point you may have to solve those type of equations, maybe even harder ones, but it will only happen when you are maybe creating your own machine learning model and you're not using various Python packages, or you're working in a probably in a product based companies like Google or Meta, where they always tend to implement their own models and maybe not use out of the box or off the shelf models. So those are the only places where you'll have to maybe solve those equations and implement them on your own. But apart from that, if you understand basic maths and stats, I think you'll be good to go. And I think one starting point can be the statistics playlist, which I have on my channel. I've started from very basic like mean, median, mode, and we also covered central limit theorem and probability, those kind of things. So uh, I think that could be a really good starting point. You watch that playlist and maybe after that you can decide whether that thing is complex for you. If that playlist is complex for you, then maybe you will need some extra help or some extra guidance in how to cover other mathematical concepts. But if you're able to go through that playlist um, fairly easily, I think you're good to go, and that shouldn't be that big of a challenge. But if you want to, for example, understand some of the machine learning algorithms and their mathematics, all you need to know is what is the significance of integration, what is the significance of differentiation, what those things actually mean. That's all. You don't really need to solve those equations yourself. You just need to understand what they are doing because those things have been implemented already. So yeah, that's the kind of mindset you need to keep, that yes, it's a maths heavy field, but it shouldn't be that challenging. I hope that answers your question. Let's work for 4 companies, but I have letter for 2. How it will be considered? It should be fine, I think, because sometimes what happens is when you're working for a startup, which is like very, very, very small, or a very small business, they may not provide you the letter. So I think that should be fine. It shouldn't be that challenging. Um, it's just you should be able to just explain what was your work in those 4 companies, and you should list down all the projects or roles and the outcome of the work that you did there. So I think if you're able to document those things properly on your CV, you will be okay. I have previous experience of 6 years in a bank with data analysis, but it was less technical. After MS here, should I target for banks, considering if domain knowledge could be a plus? Yes, you should not just limit your applications to bank. You should apply to all the jobs available on the market. But when you're applying for banks, I think you should put extra emphasis on your projects and outcomes, and probably just tailor your CV for those bank data science or data analytics jobs. So that may help you uh, get those jobs. One other thing I would mention is that you don't need to tailor your CV for every job, and I did talk about this in previous live Q&A as well. We were just having discussion and this point came up because there are quite a lot of jobs in the market. They are just fake. So if you tailor your CV for each and every job, you're wasting so much time there. And instead of tailoring your CV for each and every job, you should create one overall really good CV using which you can apply to all the jobs available in the market. But like in your case, you have a very good experience in bank industry, so I think you should put a little bit more focus on the jobs that you're applying for these banks. I noticed there are two types of data scientists. Some are heavily statistical data scientists, others are more programmer data scientists. In industry, which one is more valued? Both of them are valued equally. If you have both, I think that's great. But if you have specialization in certain things, that is also okay. So it would be really hard to say which one is valued more because, for example, if you're going for an insurance based company, they might prefer someone who has a very good statistical background and they can perform some of the statistical testing. But then there is this company which is building some data science tools. They might prefer someone who can code quite efficiently and they understand different data science concepts and algorithms. So they both are valued equally. So yeah, it's totally up to you. If you want to be a statistical data scientist, you can be that. If you want to be a uh, applied data scientist, you can be that. But I think it's always good to have a mix of both. How should I apply for ML engineer roles in the UK? I recently completed my MS in AI. I have some experience as a researcher and software developer intern and some good end-to-end ML project. Plus, I have applied to lots of jobs but facing rejections only. What should be my approach to apply for jobs? Do I have to cold email or something because nothing seems to be working right. Um, did I talk about this in last video? Anyways, I am creating a full length video on this and I'm trying to include as much as I can in that video so that you'll have a full guide and things that you can do differently to maybe start getting some calls. But yes, the first thing is that you need to apply to enough number of jobs. And few days back, I was reading one of the articles, and it mentioned that if you have not applied for at least 500 jobs, you have not applied enough. So I think it is very important that you apply to enough number of jobs to be able to get some call, because if you're applying for like 5 6 jobs, it's really hard to get any call. And even when I was applying for jobs, I think on daily basis I used to apply for at least 20 jobs, if not more. So, and then I used to get like 1 or 2 calls probably in like 2 weeks. So it was quite low. That's the hardest thing, to get a call, because once you get a call, I think then it's totally up to you and your preparation, how well you're able to convert it into a job role. But getting a call is probably the most difficult thing, I would say. And cold email, yes, it could work. Um, I've seen quite a lot of recruiters, they just reach out to you on LinkedIn. So I would say make good use of it. Once someone reaches out to you saying that I have this opening with one of my clients, um, would you be open to um, take this role? So they will ask you for CV, you give them the CV, and then if you don't hear back from them in 2 working days, you need to go back to them. you need to touch bases and you need to ask what happened to that, and then hopefully things can move forward. Here, job application process take time. So, are follow ups impactful in such cases? If yes, at what level? After just applying or after an interview stage? Yes, exactly what I was mentioning. Follow ups are quite important. What I personally did was, once I had that initial call, and if I didn't receive anything from them, I reached out to them after like 2 or 3 days and then got an update. Sometimes what happened was that I had that initial call, and they did not tell me whether there will be a next stage or not. And when I reached out to them, they told that yes, we will be scheduling probably next week or something like that, because the interviewer is not available. So yes, it's always good to follow up. Right after the interview, I don't think that's a good thing to do, but maybe after a couple of days, or you can give a 1 week as well. But follow up is definitely very important and impactful as well. Would you suggest any interview preparation guides slash mock interview platform, given the low probability of getting interview calls here? Um, yeah, there are few things that you can do for preparing for interviews. What I would suggest is, if you're getting a call, then for whatever was the job description, you need to maybe do some research there and see whether you're able to find any details out of it, and try to predict some of the questions and try to see what their use case is and prepare for similar kind of questions. But that's something which you will do once you have a call from them and you know that you will have interview with them. But let's say you're not getting any call, but you want to prepare for interview. What I used to do, I used to um, just I had made notes. So for every algorithm, I used to read how they work, what are their limitations, what are their advantages, different hyperparameters, and what are the implications of those hyperparameters. So if I know those things, I should be able to answer most of the questions related to a specific algorithm or related to a specific model. So that was one thing that I used to do. And then it's not just about technical stuff here, you also need to have a really good soft skills. So for soft skills, you need to practice speaking. So you can record, I would say you should always record your audio when you are explaining something, or when you are talking about yourself, or when you are explaining your experience or about your education. You should always record them, and after you're done, go back and listen to those things and see where you can improve, and how you can make it more impactful, because those things are very important, especially here in the UK. Because if your communication is not good here in the UK, but then if you have really good technical skills, it may not be good enough. So with someone who has a good balance of both technical and soft skills, will always have edge over someone with pure technical skills or pure soft skills. So those are the things that you can do. One other thing is that for Telegram, sorry, not for Telegram, but for YouTube members, there is a tier where you can get your CV reviewed, or you can book a session where we can go through a mock interview. And what I've seen is few people who have gone through that mock interview, they were able to find their limitations, things where they were not that good, and things they had to improve. So yeah, that is something which you can do. Book a mock interview session and we can go through some of the things there. And but then there are other mock interview platforms as well. It's just I don't remember if there are any free mock interview platforms. One other thing is that you can go to ChatGPT or Claude, whichever large language model you like. You can just in general ask, suggest me some 20-30 data science interview questions, and then you can prepare for all those questions, but that might not be that impactful. So maybe if there is a job description which you really like, and if you think it has all the details that you need, copy that, paste it in ChatGPT, ask it to generate some data science questions or data science interview questions, and you can prepare for those questions. So that could be something which you can do. Is there any kind of advantage here in the job market for being the top performer in MSc data science cohort recognized by the university, or passing with distinction? Um, Usually they don't ask your score or your marks card. The maximum they will ask probably is your degree certificate, which will have distinction, obviously. But they don't ask those things specifically. But in interview, usually they can ask, how was your experience studying here? And in that, while explaining about those things, you can maybe add few lines to post about those things, I think, because maybe not consciously, but when you mention those things, it will have some impact uh, on their subconscious mind, and maybe that can help you have some edge over. So when you mention those things, mention in a way that it is rememberable. So yeah, you should mention those things when you are introducing yourself in an interview. But companies won't ask whether you have distinction or not. Some companies can ask, but in my personal experience, I think there was only one company which asked about the results. But apart from that, I don't think any of those companies um, asked about the results. Right. We are almost about to reach 1 hour mark. We actually reached now. So yeah, it was really nice talking to you all. Lot of good discussion here. Really enjoy doing these live Q&As. Have a great Saturday and Sunday, and Happy New Year as well. I will see you on next Friday. Sorry, Saturday. Uh, Friday. Do I have holiday? No, no. Friday won't be possible. I thought maybe I will do Friday, Saturdays, but it won't be possible. So yeah, as usual, I will see you on next Saturday, 12 p.m. UK time. Yeah, happy learning and take care. Bye.